Why YouTube, Adam? Why that platform?
YouTube is the most sustainable way to build trust and engineer authority long-term, sustainably. You look at all these social media platforms that everybody obsesses over. You look at TikTok, you look at Instagram. They're putting all these resources, all this time, all this attention into something that becomes completely irrelevant after 7 days, even if it went viral. I needed YouTube to find my voice to begin with.
You cannot sell unless you are seen. You got to have enough people also to sell to, which is leads. And you cannot generate leads unless you create content. And today I'm going to talk about how to take that content and turn into 100K months or more cash flow. As a matter of fact, whatever you want to achieve, whatever financial outcome, whatever sales goal, whatever revenue target you want to hit, whether it's 10K months, 50K months, 100K months, $1 million months, it is inevitable that you'll hit it just as long as you create content. You step into that role of a creator. And with me today, I'm super excited to have with me, which is a YouTube growth strategist. He is my YouTube guy. There's a lot of people out there doing YouTube. One of my mentors, Myron Golden's huge on YouTube as well. I have a great friend named Omar El-Takori's down there. But if I'm going to go with a strategist to help me grow and explode and really get me seen on YouTube, this is the guy. So welcome to the Anywhere Entrepreneur podcast, Adam Ivy. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Always good catching up with you, Cease, and I appreciate the opportunity to nerd out about YouTube and everything content related today.
I know, dude. I'm glad you brought the word nerd out. Like that's you're the guy. Like you're not only my guy, but if I'm gonna nerd out on YouTube, just like I would nerd out on funnels with Russell, right? If I pick up YouTube, I quite honestly, I think of you first all the time, right? So tell me, for those that are thinking about, I got to sell something, right? And obviously we have to create in order to sell, right? You have to create content. People need to see you. They need to know you. They need to like you. They need to want you before they even trust you, right? To even buy. Why YouTube? For those of you who are not on YouTube and are thinking about it, or are just starting on YouTube, why YouTube, Adam? Why that platform?
YouTube is the most sustainable way to build trust and engineer authority long-term, sustainably. You look at all these social media platforms that everybody obsesses over. You look at TikTok, you look at Instagram, and they're putting all these resources, all this time, all this attention into something that becomes completely irrelevant after 7 days, even if it went viral, for the most part. You look at YouTube, that's an evergreen, organic lifeline for you for years. I have videos from 2019, so almost 7 years ago now, that are still getting 2,000-3,000 views a month. And I'm getting emails for an offer that I shut down 2 years ago. People like, how do I get in? I can't find a link anywhere. And that's the type of trust and authority that we build, because with YouTube content, people are coming in the house, they're taking off their shoes, and they want to stay a while intentionally. You're not going to get that anywhere else aside from maybe a different type of archetype over on LinkedIn, where they're more, reading articles and being part of communities over there. But YouTube is tried and true. It's not going anywhere. It's owned by Google or Alphabet, right? And with YouTube, all of the analytics, all of what the studio is breaking down for you is a clear roadmap to gaining traction. If you are screwing up, YouTube shows you where, and YouTube shows you how to fix it, right? So I stumbled around on YouTube for 8 years, throwing everything and anything up against the wall, trying to get attention for myself, trying to serve me. How can this change my life? How can I become YouTube famous? And then I realized that that's not the game. The game is having intention. It's about engineering trust into who you are, your brand, what you stand for, what you have to offer. And I started looking at it as a tool to serve my business and to build a business, quite frankly, rather than trying to just be successful on the tool itself. It's a very different world once you step into that intentional outlook on YouTube. But the great thing about it is that, I say this all the time because I truly believe it. I got on YouTube in 2008. My big channels from 2009, I think, and I got on YouTube because I wanted to matter. I wanted my voice to be heard. And I didn't realize until probably a decade later that I needed YouTube to find my voice to begin with. I was
it's wild. It's wild, isn't it? Like walk me through your backstory on that. I know that
Sure.
you grew your previous channel I know that you were serving a certain audience, certain avatar, and you blew up that channel. Yeah. And you were teaching people how to do that, how to become a creator, how to how to monetize, how to get views, all of that stuff. And then you shifted, and then you're now doing YouTube strategies, but to a different avatar, right? You're still kind of doing the same thing, but to a different avatar. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. So I started on YouTube way back in the day, and I did everything, like I said, threw stuff up against the wall. I did vlogs like Casey Neistat. I did product reviews. I did music production tutorials because I was a music producer for almost a decade back in my 20s into early 30s. I did music parody videos, comedy skits, current event type videos. Like, I don't know if you guys remember Tosh.0. I thought that I could do that type of stuff on YouTube. I was inspired by like Ray William Johnson at the time, who was huge. And then in 2016, I lost hearing in my left ear. I went legally deaf in my left ear. It still affects me to this day. And I realized that as a music producer at the time, well, this isn't going to be easy. And I had already been battling for a couple of years, wondering if music was really, truly the path that I was put on this earth to go forth with. And I felt like that was a sign from God that, hey, I'm going to take that away from you to finally slap you in the face with some reality. And I started making educational, like helpful style videos for the same people who I was essentially speaking to a 5-year younger version of myself. The person that hadn't crawled through the mud yet, the person that hadn't gone through the ups and downs. And I was telling everybody, this is how I make my money with music. This is how I built my brand. This is how I built my email list, all the different systems. And honestly, Cease, I started doing those videos kind of out of spite because I was like, if I can't make money, I'm just going to give them all the sauce and they can fight for scraps. And then I realized that's not the game at all. Like everybody can succeed. Now, not everybody will succeed. But anybody who applies themselves, obviously a little bit of luck in the mix, but we have to manufacture the luck by putting in the work up front. And man, let me tell you, within the first 3 or 4 videos, I had people leaving comments that meant more to me than any other comments I had ever received on any other video that I had made up to that point. There were people that were like, I was about to quit music and I found your video and I'm inspired to get back into it and all these other things. And that launched the idea of building this because I'm very competitive. I was like, well, how big can I build this? Like if I put all my focus, and I told my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I said, I'm going to spend 1 year doing 2 videos a week. And if it flops, then that's it. I'm not going to do YouTube anymore, but I want to give it a good effort. I want to see what's possible. And within that 12 months, I scaled to multiple 6 figures, almost $1 million within about 18 months. And I became the #1 music marketing channel on YouTube for almost 5 years, fastest growing for 3 or 4 years. And then my heart kind of fell out of it. And I started feeling like it was a job more than anything. And I realized through having a great conversation with my dear friend, Michael Elsner, who's also a mentor of mine. He said, Adam, what has changed your life more, YouTube or music in general, music production in that world? And I'm like, well, YouTube, right? I'm at the time making, 50 grand, 70 grand a month. Sometimes, speaking $100 million or $100,000 months. Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to have more than a dozen $100,000 months in that business. And
it was like a no-brainer. And we actually had that conversation too, where We talked about the actual industry you were in, the avatar, the musical industry,
Absolutely.
musicians, and then we also talked about YouTube as well, right? And that's had a
Yeah.
it's ironic that you went down that path, and you should have. You probably should have been a lot earlier.
Yeah, 100%. See, so I'm going to say you and Phyllis, your lovely wife, are a big catalyst for why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I was always dabbling in it. It's funny. I found a few videos from 2014 on my music marketing channel where I started teaching YouTube growth. And my imposter syndrome hit me. Is like, who are you to talk about, YouTube growth? Back in 2014, I probably had 30,000 subscribers or something. So I didn't have my footing quite yet, or at least I didn't feel like I had. And fast forward to today, I'm just talking about YouTube to people who are nerding out about it with me in a way that's going to change their life, not have to depend on so many variables in an industry that's incredibly volatile, which is the music industry. And I woke up one day, and I don't think I've shared this. I don't think I've shared this publicly. I woke up one day after the hearing loss, after doing all the YouTube videos, after building this big 7-figure business and having all these coaching clients, and AI was just emerging, artificial intelligence in the music industry. And I saw some signs on the wall, and I woke up one day and I said, I officially feel like I'm starting to sell the dream, and I never want to be that guy. And literally that month, I closed everything down, shut everything down, to the point where it affected my income. And we're like, we got some money in the bank. This should be okay, right? And I've shared those behind the scenes stories with you, but I never wanted to be the guy that's selling dreams, the fake guru, whatever terms people want to put out there, derogatory. But like, I knew that stepping into what I call my elevated calling, YouTube changed my life. And I spent over a decade of my life not only doing it for me, but helping my friends in the music industry, helping corporations. As you know, I was a marketing director for a tech company. I took their business from around 5 to 7 million annually to over 22 million. I'm not going to take all the credit, but I had the first video in that space to do 1 million views organically. My own big channel is now over 21 million views organically. We've done almost $4 million in sales with that business organically. And so when people start talking to me about paid ads and stuff, my brain melts a little bit. I'm like, I have no idea. And it just sounds scary, right? Eventually I'm going to do it. But, and I used to manage it in the corporate world, but man, YouTube is a way to get into people's living rooms. I mean, people watch YouTube on TV. They don't watch TikToks or Instagram on TV unless they're a psychopath.
Yeah, true.
And so
true.
It's YouTube attracts what I call focused attention when most everything else attracts distracted attention, stoplight attention. Totally. You're on the toilet attention, you know?
Okay. So YouTube's there. So, I always say that, you got to have, if you want to sell, you got to have enough people to sell to, which is leads, right? So, leads can definitely be generated through YouTube. And I always say, leads are the oxygen for your business, right? And YouTube is the actual heartbeat for your business. Without it, that's where it starts, right? So, how does one turn YouTube into an actual business as well, right? So not only does it feed your business if you have a business or an offer, but it actually could turn into a business by itself, right? You generate revenue. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I did a video a few months ago that was like 19 ways to make money on YouTube or something. And I put them in a tier list. It was a really fun video to do. But a lot of people think that they're just going to make all their money on YouTube off of AdSense revenue, which is the money that you make from YouTube placing ads before, in the middle of, and at the end of your videos. And that money could be really cool. Like, Myron, I know he's made a substantial amount of money, subjectively substantial amount of money through, doing so many lives and having a great viewership and retention and getting some ads served. And I don't want to exaggerate, I've made a couple 100,000 just off AdSense over the years on my channel. But the great thing about it is, like, to build a business successfully, you need VCO, visibility, connections, offers. You need visibility. People need to know you exist. Then you need that connection, that relationship building tool. And then you need to direct them to some type of conversion, an offer, right? So if you have visibility and connections, but no offers, you're dragging around an ATM machine behind you, refusing to plug it in. Most people,
which a lot of people do that, right, Adam? A lot of people have the views. right? They have the views, but and the consumption, but they're broke, right? And
Yeah.
because they're not leading them into an offer, which is crazy, right?
So many people are afraid to be salesy. They don't want to feel like their audience is like, I literally had a conversation just a few weeks ago. Somebody said, well, if I have anything paid, my viewers aren't going to trust me anymore. And I said, that is directly projected from your own belief system.
Totally.
Because
They're
you are
already
not
buying.
serving, right? Well, and you know this, you don't care about your audience enough if you don't have anything to serve them with.
Correct. They're buying
You're
from
telling
somebody else.
them,
So that's a problem.
that's it. You're yelling at them out in the cold that they need a blanket to be warm, and look how warm I am, but you're not inviting them in. You're not giving them a blanket.
Yeah, so they go buy blankets from somebody else.
That's and then you sit there mad, wondering why nobody bought your blanket that you don't sell. But to answer your question, Cease, YouTube is that traffic trigger, and I call it the ARC system: attract, retain, convert. You have to attract the right audience to you. You need to attract the right viewer intent. And there's only 3 types of audiences on YouTube. There's core, casual, and new. So many people focus a little bit too deep. They might have 1,000 subscribers, just for basic numbers here, and they're doing overly advanced content for the people that already know, like, and trust them, but they're not bringing anybody else in. It's like 2 goldfish on the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket out in the sun. Eventually that water's going to evaporate and everybody dies. Like, you need to keep putting new fresh water in the tank. So what we have to do is we have to have mass appeal content that brings in new eyeballs, even though we know 80% are not necessarily target audience. But I don't know about you, Cease. I would rather have a pool of the 20% that are out of 1 million people than the 20% that are out of 100 people. So the more
Adam,
people we bring in.
I like that.
Go ahead.
You said that. I love that. You said core, casual, and new. So if we align that with a funnel strategy, right? So what you're saying is the new, where you're creating content, broad content at your top of funnel. That's kind of what I'm hearing. And then your middle funnel is where you take those new into more casual, and then casual into core, which is then your bottom funnel. Is that about right?
Spot on. Like I said, attraction, retention, conversion. Attraction content brings people in. It's the tiers of trust, right? Like I keep saying, we're engineering trust here. And what we have to do is bring them in ground level. They don't know us. They have cynicisms and skepticisms like everybody else. And we have to ease their mind with value. We have to give them more value per minute than they're used to. We need to not gatekeep and give them everything we can, because nobody pays for information anymore. They pay for implementation and perspective. So we bring them in, we serve them, we over delight them, which is something I picked up from HubSpot back in like 2011. It was always about over delighting your customers. And then we have a flywheel of what your core offer, core topic, core focus is, and then all of the different elements that create the different content buckets, that some of them are more mass appeal, attraction, top of funnel, then some of them serve people at a deeper level, the core audience, or the casual, to put it into perspective for anybody listening or watching this. New audience doesn't know who you are. They have never seen you before. Casual have clicked on your videos or seen your thumbnails. They haven't subscribed yet. They really don't engage with your stuff, but you are becoming familiar to them. And then those that subscribe, those that are eager to watch your new stuff and share it with their friends and actually take notes and do something with the content, that's your core audience. Those are the people that are the hottest, right? So we go cold, warm, hot. And so that's really, I see so many people trying to jump on YouTube and make $1 kajillion day one, and they just, all of their content comes off like paid ads. And that's the fastest way to eliminate any chance of getting someone's trust. And people don't realize that we need to keep people on YouTube as long as possible for session time, which builds the trust score and the relationship with YouTube. The more people you bring in, the more people you keep on YouTube, the more YouTube's going to show your stuff to everybody else.
Yeah, and I made this mistake as well myself, right? When I launched my very first YouTube channel, that was it. It was like every single one of my videos. I go back and look at them now, and I cringe, right? Because it's like, we were never taught this stuff, so I did it and they did. You're right. They look like ads, right? There was value in them, but you're right. They looked like they were advertising. So, um, it, in terms of YouTube, I know that some people, like for example, one of my men, our good friend that we know, Myron, for example, he does lives, right? He does lives twice a
Yeah.
week. He goes live, same channel, right? Same time, every same day, Monday, Thursday, doesn't matter where he's at. He's doing it at the same time. Is that your recommendation to go live to to do you also, I heard you say something like 2 long form videos, and then there's shorts as well involved in this. So what is your recommend there in terms of creating content and how to actually create it?
I think anybody watching this or listening, I don't want you to get intimidated by the fact that you have to show up all the time live. Myron is an anomaly. He is an incredible talent who has built just such a powerful reputation and delivery system. And so he sets it up like hours of business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know it better than I do. Every Monday and Thursday or something like
Monday
that.
and Thursday.
And
As a matter of fact, you're right. Like he did that even before YouTube. Like he was meeting with people at IHOP. Like he literally had he had people, go show up on IHOP, anybody and everybody who wanted to come by to learn this thing to from him, they would just show up and he would just share. So he's already done that. You're right. He just took it from offline as what we call it, right, to those Monday and Thursday online streaming live through YouTube. So yeah, you're right.
Well, and that's the thing, consistency and building your audience trust around your deliverables is never a bad thing, right? So if Myron shows up every week, it's not just for his audience, and he'll tell you that straight away. It's to stay sharp. It's to try out new material like a stand-up comedian in a lot of ways. It's like, I'm going to work these new teachings in and see how they land and see if it comes out right. And I might have to tweak the slides, and everything makes you more dangerous in a good way. But when it comes to going live, I don't recommend people go live until they have their pre-recorded stuff a little bit ironed out, because if you're yelling at an auditorium that is empty versus you have some people that have already seen the billboard for it with your long form content, it's a lot easier to attract a crowd with the crowd already. There's a great quote that I used to say all the time is nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd, because when you have people that want to show up for a live now new people find that because it's spread out more. But your core audience is going to jump in and be excited about it and be able to interact with you in a different medium than the pre-recorded stuff. But I think that we have to find our voice. We have to find our cadence, our rhythm, our format before we go live, typically. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. I have a second channel that I launched in 2025, less than a year ago, and it just surpassed 20,000 subscribers, about 550,000 views. And that's with 31 or 32 videos total. Wow. So I'm very intentional with doing one weekly video, because if I try to do 2 right now, I'm going to spread myself too thin. I'm not going to be happy with the final outcome. So I would rather have one that I spent some time on and that I was very intentional with. And it's like my little focused project, rather than, okay, I did that, get that out of the way. What's next? Okay, get that out of the way. Because if I engineer these videos knowing this one is going to be what I call a money video, this one's going to generate a ton of leads, this one is a depth video, this one's going to really build relationships and trust, I don't care if anybody signs up for a lead magnet off of this one, then I can watch how I'm connecting the dots a little bit more intentional. And I can look at the data from 4 videos ago and say, I need to do more of that. That one I thought was going to be a home run, it flopped. I'm going to stay away from that for a while and run off the momentum of these other 2. And just doing 1 video a week.
Wow.
And quite honestly, this, Cease, but anybody listening, we had our second child in July. So there was probably 2 or 3 months where I wasn't consistent at all. It was a video every 3 weeks, maybe. And I didn't really get fully committed to this new YouTube channel until October of 2025. So just 3 or 4 months ago. And in those 3 or 4 months, we've generated more than 4,000 email signups. Wow. Less than 35 videos, like I said. And I've had 3, technically 2.5, and I could explain that if you guys need to, but 2.5 high ticket clients, and high ticket is $40,000 for my 12-month offer. And that changes. You know
Well,
that it's going to go up. I'm going to work with less people, but and I say 2.5 because somebody really shook me down for like a 6-month version of it. But you know, and we do that, right? So it's, and that wasn't even with the funnel, man. Like we had a funnel and it
it's
was
just right from YouTube to that, to your offer.
YouTube to Instagram DM or WhatsApp message or an email, and then just voice messages back and forth. And they sent the wire, because when you show that you have authority with no gatekeeping, you don't have any low ticket. I love low ticket, but I'm not a low ticket guy myself. It just is like, either we're going to work together or you're going to learn everything you need to know on the YouTube channel. There's really no middle ground here. I'm not going to hide anything. Let's talk. And so that, I firmly believe, one intentional video a week gets you into momentum. Then when you have your systems down, you have your editing all ironed out, your editor, or if you're editing, maybe you have some assets that are now drag and drop rather than create from scratch. Now you can jump up into 2 a week or go live every other week and do the 1 video a week posting. And I brought all that up because I plan, starting next month, to go live on YouTube once a month. I'm not going to bite off more than I could chew, but just once a month, do a hangout session. I'll have a framework behind it, but I've literally posted maybe 3 times on Instagram in the last 2 or 3 months, aside from like daily stories and updates and stuff. And I've posted nothing on TikTok for at least, man, I'm probably going on a year now.
And you're
people are still
hyper
coming
focused
in.
on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, you need to focus on, I focus on the people that I actually want to work with, and entrepreneurs aren't chilling on Instagram all day. They have stuff to do.
True. Yeah,
you know,
true.
In my opinion,
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Tell me about the intention. I love that. That is so, I mean, it's so cool to hear. And I need to and want to do more of that, to be way more intentional about creation, right? How do you prepare that intention? You said something. You said 2 things. You said, "Hey, I intentionally created this video to gain trust. I intentionally created this video to generate leads." Can you expand a little bit about how you actually plan that out?
Sure. I'll unpack a few things here. So I try to provide so much value in my videos that people feel like they're cheating me by watching them. And don't get me wrong, Cease, you know me. A lot of you guys watching this could tell I'm long-winded sometimes. I like to go off on tangents and tell stories. So some people are like, get to the point in some videos. However, I'm always auditing myself, trying to say what is going to hook them and slap them in the face with an emotional trigger that makes it real to them, gets them to pay attention. And how can I sink down with them into the problem so fast that we start rebuilding it rather than dwelling on the problem? It's like, we're here now. What are we going to do? We're in a hole. We got to start climbing. And then we start climbing together in those videos. And then at the peak, and this is my whole entire binge method, it's about cognitive dissonance, right? So you continue to close one loop and open another, close one loop and open another. And when you do that, now you could say, at the end of one of those closed, refreshing of loops, you could say, you can inject what I call, by the way, anyway, call to action, which you've seen me do it a million times, Stacey. It's like, oh, by the way, I have this thing that you probably would help you. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into it. A lot of people love it. I'll have a link in the description box below. Go download it, start using it, please, and enjoy. Anyway. So it's like, oh, I got this thing that could change your life, but I'm not going to take too much time to tell you about it. It's so when you can do what I call a passive call to action and inject that in, it's like we're sitting across the table from one another at a coffee shop. And I'm like, oh, see, no, I have that exact thing. Like, come over to my garage. You can borrow it. And you're like, seriously?
It's very inviting. Yeah, it's very inviting for sure. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So many people will have momentum, and then they'll just flatline their video and everybody will bounce because they'll be like, now, before I get into my next point, I want to take some time to, and then it just turns into like a VSL sales pitch. And
correct.
Then they talk about it for 3 minutes. It's just like, nope, now you're just pitching people. And then people see that as slightly manipulative because you brought them in, you acted like you cared, and then you just want their money. And so I think that it's all about, I don't want any money off YouTube. I don't like, I'm not talking about the AdSense and stuff. I don't want you to pay me for anything. I want to provide so much value that maybe you'll stop over at my house meaning my
Yeah.
email list, then
Yep.
maybe if you see that I promote a party, you'll come and hang out at the party.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you'll tell all
Yeah.
your friends about the party or whatever it might be, you
Yeah.
know? So, when I'm talking about intention with creation of the video, I know now what videos are going to be like a home run video. I know it has mass appeal. I know what the stakes are. I know that other people in the space have done similar angles. But then I make it my own, right? And this isn't about copying. It's about looking and seeing what works. Here's a great example of this. I was working with a client early on a few months ago, and I said, let's go spend 30 minutes to what I call idea farming. Look at all of your competitors in the space, what videos are working for them. And within the first 5 or 10 minutes, he's like, Adam, like, I'm not a ripoff artist. I'm not going to copy their videos. I said, we don't even have to open their videos. We're looking at the packaging. What gets our attention? What worked for them? He goes, I don't know. I said, here's the deal. You've been to a club or a wedding or a live event, right? He goes, yeah, of course. I said, there's a DJ there, right? And he goes, well, yeah, usually. I said, is the DJ just playing nothing but original songs? Or is he playing songs that he knows are going to make people dance? He knows people are going to interact. He knows people are going to have a good time. And he goes, well, yeah. I said, it's the same thing. If you know what people react to, now it's an invite for us to give our own perspective, our unique lived experience. If I say how to gain 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and there's 80,000 other videos that say that, I'm sharing my personal experience, not regurgitation from somebody else. So we have to look at what worked. And here's the beautiful thing, Cease, with that intention. If you get into a rhythm of looking and studying what has worked before you, now you start seeing the patterns. Now you are training yourself on being more effective. And so now 10 videos in, you're like, I don't even need to look. I know how to write these hooks now. I know what a good thumbnail looks like. I know what the title could be. I know what titles that I was like, I'm going to make it my own. And like it flopped. It's no different than copywriting. It's no different than sports. It's no different than being a marathon runner. We have to start one step at a time. Look to see who's done it. Obviously, you're a big proponent for mentors, as I am. They've changed my life. I mean, our friendship has changed my life in more ways than one. And
Adam, what's the balance there between what's the how important is it to be a consumer as well as a creator, right? To be really, really good at growing your YouTube.
Yeah. I firmly believe, and this is something that I fall prey to. So I don't always practice what I preach here because we all fall prey into the procrastination distraction world of you're like, you know what? ChatGPT is coming up with a plan, my schedule for the next couple of days. It's thinking, let me go on Instagram.
Yep.
And then you look, you're like, oh, where did 20 minutes go? And so I think if we look at it different, put it in a different scope, and we say, I'm not consuming, I'm studying.
Oh,
because if you read a book, you don't consider that consuming. If I spend $180 on breakthrough advertising and I'm reading this, I'm not like, oh, I'm just, wasting away time. I'm like, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm bettering myself.
Yep.
It's so, with social media being free though, we don't have the same value to it.
Sure.
Like I just said, what I just showed you is the most expensive book I've ever bought because like a dozen people told me, have you read this? Have you read this? Have you read this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much is it? Right. I mean, I'm used to like $12.99, something like that. But you read the first few pages and admittedly, I'm just getting into it now, but it's a different intention versus I'm waiting for my meal to heat up, at lunchtime and I'm on my phone endlessly scrolling. But if I say, you know what, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on TikTok or I'm going to spend 10 minutes on Instagram and I'm going to pay attention to my own brain. I'm going to pay attention to what gets my attention. It's like, it doesn't always work, Cease, but it does when you pay attention to it and when you you snap yourself back in that way.
Yeah. So I asked that question specifically. I do the same thing too. It is vital to be a consumer as well as a creator, but when you consume, you study, just like what Adam is saying there. Yeah, you study the patterns. You start asking better questions to yourself, like what got my attention for me to watch this content right now, right? Because then you could use that for yours. So how can you get your audience's attention the same exact way? So yeah, so don't just consume, study. Adam, you said you said you said something a little while ago about the binge method. I think it's phenomenal. You shared
Thank you.
this at the live mastermind we were in Mexico. Could you share a little bit about that framework?
Sure. So the
And then
binge method
and
is
sorry to cut you off as well. You were going to say something. Sorry.
no. The last thought I had was Myron, who is just we think the world of Myron Golden. He golfs all the time, every day, I think, and you know that more than I do. Yeah. And I think everybody watching this or listening can understand the concept of if we want to be a proficient golfer, a good golfer, we can't watch a million YouTube videos on it and TikToks and like you have to go and swing the club. That's the only way you become better.
Yep.
And if you find one person that used to be a professional or is very, very good and they can watch your form, critique you live, you're going to get much better rather than all this generic paint by numbers content that we see on YouTube. And to step into the binge method, though, that was just my little thought there.
Sure.
I say all the time, your repetition builds your reputation. So like, we just got to do it. And the binge method came from a conversation that I had with an editor of mine years ago. He used to be on the team that did Hermosi stuff years ago. Can't say names, but my editor's name was Brody. And we sat down and I was kind of frustrated with him, if I'm being honest, Cease. And I said, like, I'm giving you all these YouTube videos and I need you to cut the clips out of it. And he goes, Adam, you have like really good hooks, but then like I can only use that hook one time. Otherwise, like he goes, the rest of the content you want me to find is like just mediocre stuff in the middle of a video. And I said, well, what if the video itself was like short form videos that were all piled together? So it was like hook, resolve, but open loop, hook, resolve, but open loop, hook. And that's when the binge method started forming in my head. I wanted people to binge my content. Because retention equals trust. That's what anybody needs to listen. You do not have trust if you can't hold attention. So we are engineering trust. We are taking that attention and, like I said, bringing it in, keeping them, and then monetizing or converting to something. And the binge method is all about that. So binge is an acronym. B stands for a banger hook, an opening that just slaps people in the face with that emotional trigger. Like I said, I stands for build intrigue before you get into the first segment. It's like, this is the hook. This is why it matters. Now let's jump in. N stands for nudge. So we have these segments and you have an opening hook rather than, I know that you guys can relate to this. How many videos have you watched where it's like, hey, today I'm going to talk about the 5 pillars of success that you need in your business. And it's like pillar number 1, blah, 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 blah. Okay,
right away.
Pillar number 2.
Okay.
Every pillar has an emotional trigger within it. So start it with an opening hook for that pillar. Just like you were making an independent video for TikTok. I'm talking about wide angle though. I'm not talking about vertical.
Yep.
But nudge, N of binge, stands for nudge into the next. You guys have seen this a lot over the years where it's just like, now that could help you, but if you miss the next step, you're done for.
Yep.
A very surface level example, but
yeah.
Oh, okay. As soon as the cognitive dissonance in your brain says, oh, okay, I got to resolve. Wait, what? Oh, wait, there's more? Yeah. And the psychology behind attention has been fascinating for me. I've been studying it for 2 or 3 years. Obviously I don't have a master's in psychology or anything, but I do have, 20 hard fought years in the marketing, sales, brand development world, which has put me through the ringer myself. So we have a banger hook. B, we have build intrigue. I, nudge into the next segment. N, G is generate engagement 2 or 3 times per video, usually at the 30%, 60%. And then at the end, we have some type of call to action. It could be by the way, anyway, call to action. It could be hey, if you like this content, subscribe, like the video. It really helps this channel. Something like that if we're trying to get more subscribers. At the end, the call to action, the engagement could be like, yeah, how many of these are you guilty of, for example, right? Obviously surface level, like I said, and then get them to the next video, which is E, end in momentum. See, I can't tell you, one thing that kills people's channels, people's chances of being successful on YouTube so many times is the fact that they're long-winded and they tell people way too early that the video's coming to a close. You see this all the time with, now let's recap what I talked about. Why? They have a mouse. They can click to start the video over.
Yeah.
We're iterating or reiterating way too much. And so instead of saying, hey guys, before I close, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. It's just like, no. You are now disrespecting their time. You end in momentum. So if I have 5 steps, cease, and they're just bangers, right? They're just like, whoa, this is a lot of great content. And let's say the last, let's say for example's sake, the last segment is talking about email marketing. And I give like a general overview of email marketing, why it matters from right there. And I say, speaking of which, if you want to deep dive in email marketing on a whole different level, watch this video next. If you haven't yet, click that little subscribe button, join I call my people, my channel family. So it's like they're on the edge of their seat. And now you send them to the next stage. Like, hey, come follow me. I'm speaking again. So that's how you increase retention time. And the 3 things that matter on YouTube more than anything are click-through rate, how many people saw your packaging, your thumbnail, and your title versus how many people clicked it. That is your invitation that you sent out for the party. Your retention, how many people stayed at the party. The invitation bringing people in is what I'm talking about. How many people stayed at the party, retention, and then how many people stayed on your channel with another video that is like the after party. That is how many people are going to talk about it after the fact to bring more people in. Because I'm telling you, if you have at the halfway point of your videos, if you have 35% of your viewership still there or better, you're onto something. You're on the right path. My videos on my new channel average 52% retention. So what another metric, as I'm kind of getting in the weeds, like I said, I could nerd out about this for hours. I do every day. At the 60-second mark of your video, talking about long form, not short form. If at the 60-second mark, you still have 70% of your viewers, you are doing something right. Anything less than that, you can get much better. Because if I have 1,000 viewers and at the 60-second mark, 300 have already left, that's still pretty good. But most people see it's the opposite way around. By the 60-second mark, 80% of their people have bounced already.
Wow. So that's a good metric to look at it. If you're starting this off, or you're launching, or you're a beginner trying to get good.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah, and
very good.
We can get incrementally better with every video. But going back to the binge method, it's all about engineering the retention and the trust. It's not about manipulation. It's about respecting people's time. It's about injecting so much value, so many ahas, so much knowledge and insight with no gatekeeping. And some people watching this might be like, well, I have to gatekeep because I have this thing. Nobody pays you for the knowledge. Nobody pays you for they pay you for proximity. They pay you for implementation. They pay you for your unique frameworks. Yeah. So
for the experience.
I mean, you are uniquely you, right? I think everybody in the world can agree to that. But when you keep their time and attention and then they blink and you're already telling them to go to another video, man, that's a wonderful experience compared to what they're used to on YouTube. So the longer you keep them on YouTube, the more eager they'll be to go find your stuff.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Last question, and then I'll have you share how people get a hold of you, how people can learn more about you. If somebody's starting from zero, and what's a 30 to 60 day launch plan that they can just implement like right away? What are some things that they need to do?
Sure. Regardless of what space you're in, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, I don't care if you own a bakery, what you want to do, if you want to be the forward-facing, attractive character, the person of influence for your business and brand, we need to look at who else has already carved a path in your space as proof of concept, not a copycat thing. But if they're already doing it, and there's obviously an audience there, and now we have to capture that. So the fastest way to kind of hit the ground running is spend a day, a few hours, looking at all these other channels that you admire. It doesn't even have to be in your space. That's the beauty of this. If you find a video that's like 10 steps to anything, right? 10 steps to financial freedom, and you like the thumbnail and the title, it could be 10 steps to healthier baked goods, 10 steps to, make it your own. It doesn't have to be an apples to apples comparison within your field or your niche. It could be an adjacent niche. It's all about the attractive character and how they're packaging their content. So with that being said, Go to any channel, find 5 or 10 channels that you admire, go click on their videos, click on popular, see what their most popular videos have been over the last 6 to 12 months, no longer than that. Okay. Make a spreadsheet of some sort. You can even do screenshot, screen capture if you're lazy, which I do quite a bit. And then take all of this data and bring it into ChatGPT, explain to it, hey, this is the path I want to get on. I want to come up with a 30 to 60 day plan, which is just 4 videos a month. And so have it come up with 12 videos. So you have a few to choose from. And then you say, these are the talking points that I want to talk about. Have it break it down. And then you could use some of my binge framework that I shared with you guys. Go back and listen again, write some notes, and just explain to them what that is. And I have some videos on my new YouTube channel that break it down a little bit more. And then come up with an outline. And then you could either use a teleprompter. You can look at some notes and say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about first. Hit record. And the thing is, guys, you're not going to be polished at first. You're not going to look like $1 million, but you need to embrace the fact that you're learning. Embrace the journey, because I'd much rather you have 10 videos out in 10 weeks that are like, okay, than me check in with you 10 weeks later and be like, I'm almost done with the first one. Because so many people fall prey to that. And inevitably that first one's not going to perform, even if you're using a $10,000 camera. So it's all about ideation. What I call the 55-1 rule: 50 ideas, boil them down to 5 that you're really excited about, and then 1 is going to speak to you. Start working on that one first. I say ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Poppy or like any of these tools are great for ideation, but make it your own. Don't say, what do I say? If you're an expert, if you're passionate about what you do, you know what to say. I don't want you turning your brain into Swiss cheese by just outsourcing your thoughts, right? So
and don't be robotic for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you you're spot on. I really believe that if you can just show up authentically because you know the stuff and you love the stuff, and that is what quite honestly retains people. You know what I mean? This guy knows. This guy or gal knows their stuff. They're showing up. They're passionate about it. They're not overly scripted. They might see some of that, but at least they see you, right?
That's it. Like, we are one of one. And even if we kind of suck at first, well, the great thing about that is I've never watched a documentary that doesn't show origin story content. And let me tell you, Cease, how powerful is it for somebody to be on camera when they are uncomfortable, when they have their self-doubt, when they are critical of their own appearance, their voice, how it sounds, and be able to go back and say, I fought through that. 99% of people won't do it. And now you can see my growth because I documented it from day one.
Yep. Yeah, I have a ton of stuff I've documented myself, for sure. I love that. So
same.
Adam, how do they get a hold of you? How do people, connect with you?
Sure.
If you want to give something, please feel free to do so, because you are it, man. Like, if I know that we're gonna even have an offline conversation about how to even work with each other to grow, because we're ready, right? We're finally ready. So, but how do people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I'm super easy to get a hold of. AdamIvy.com. If you go to youtube.com/ the Adam Ivy, that's my YouTube growth channel. You can go to Instagram or TikTok at Adam Ivy. TikTok is kind of dormant right now, but come connect with me on Instagram. I read all of my own DMs and respond personally. And if you want what I call my ultimate YouTube growth guide, I will have that. I'll send Cease the link, and he can maybe put it in show notes. Or if you go to any of my YouTube videos on that channel, again, the Adam Ivy, you'll find the link and you can download that. It's a 19-page PDF that has more value in it than most paid courses in my experience. And it's free for, just in exchange for another layer of trust with your emails. So hopefully you guys come connect with me, and Cease, it's always a pleasure, and appreciate the opportunity.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you guys again. Remember, content is the heartbeat of your business. And YouTube, if you leverage it correctly, if you follow these things that Adam, who I fully trust as a YouTube expert and YouTube growth guy, he's my guy. Without a doubt, you can turn YouTube into your own business as well. So have an amazing rest of the day. Be blessed, guys.